Thank you for joining me. Well, today I want to consider a war of words that's broken out between two presidents, President Donald Trump of the United States and President Hassan Rouhani of Iran. When Trump withdrew the United States from the Iran nuclear deal in May 2018, he imposed new banking sanctions on the regime, and August the 4th is the day on which they're due to come into effect. The result is likely to be a further exacerbation of the damage already done to the Iranian economy, damage which led in June to widespread popular demonstrations against government restrictions, the mushrooming cost of food and household goods, and the falling value of the rial. Further US sanctions aimed at strangling Iran's oil exports are scheduled for November. Now, reports indicate that as a run-up to the new toughened sanctions, Washington has launched an offensive of speeches and online communications meant to encourage internal unrest against the regime. At the same time, it's exerting pressure on the leadership to renegotiate its nuclear program and end its support for extremist militant groups. The campaign has been running for some few weeks, but a highlight was a speech delivered on July the 22nd by US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. In a no-holds-barred verbal onslaught, Pompeo openly accused several Iranian leaders, by name, of corruption. In particular, that the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has an off-the-books hedge fund, Satad, worth $95 billion. The level of corruption and wealth among regime leaders, he said, shows that Iran is run by something that resembles the mafia more than a government. He went on, quote, "But the proud Iranian people are not staying silent about their government's many abuses. I have a message for the people of Iran," said Pompeo. "The United States hears you. The United States is with you," unquote. The intensified anti-regime campaign being conducted by the Trump administration has unsettled the Iranian leadership. Though the European Union opposed Trump's withdrawal from the nuclear deal and is seeking to maintain its trade links with Iran, its proposals for economic guarantees have so far been adjudged insufficient by the Supreme Leader. The leadership have in mind that the US has promised to bear down heavily on nations which try to bypass the banking sanctions shortly to be imposed on Iran. Even more disturbing to the regime are the additional US sanctions promised for November, aimed at Iranian oil exports. Declaring on the 22nd of July that, quote, "no one who really understands politics would say they will block Iran's oil exports," unquote, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani addressed the US President directly. "Mr. Trump," he said, "we are the honest men who have throughout history guaranteed the safety of this region's waterways. Do not tweak the lion's tail, it'll bring regret." Rouhani augmented that veiled threat with another, less oblique. Quote, "America should know that peace with Iran is the mother of all peace, and war with Iran is the mother of all wars," unquote. Well, messages like these acted on Trump like a red rag to a bull. At 6:24 a.m. on Monday morning, July the 23rd, he pressed send on a tweet addressed to Rouhani in person and written entirely in capital letters. He said, "Never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before. We are no longer a country that will stand for your demented words of violence and death. Be cautious." That's the end of the tweet by Donald Trump. By using capitals, Trump was assuring himself of at least a minor advantage, since there are no capital letters in Farsi for Rouhani to reciprocate in. Now, although the US administration is certainly not contemplating initiating regime change in Iran by way of overt military intervention, the Trump White House may be hoping to outmaneuver the leadership, appeal to domestic Iranian opinion, and facilitate a popular uprising. Costly, quote, foreign adventures, unquote, like Iran's involvement in the Syrian civil war, were a major cause of public protest in the popular demonstrations in June, since they were perceived to be at the expense of ordinary Iranians. Trump's clearly hoping to weaken the Iranian regime significantly, and perhaps fatally, by exerting financial, commercial, economic, and political pressure wherever it may hurt. He may be hoping to replicate with Rouhani the success he had in bringing North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, to discussions. In that event, a renegotiated Iran deal, encompassing both nuclear and missile development, as well as an end for Iranian support for terrorist activity directly and through the groups it sponsors, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and the Houthis in Yemen, this is the least that Trump hopes for from the current war of words. Well, thank you for listening to me, and do please join me again next time. Goodbye.